You are now locked into the Red and Blue Rivalry podcast, the podcast where we talk all things San Francisco 49ers and Dallas Cowboys.
My name is Eric Hernandez, and I'm repping all the faithful.
And I am Philip Enriquez, and I am repping for America's team. And it's Week 15 in the NFL. We got to kick off the Red and Blue Rivalry. It's time to talk and speak from the heart, man. Talk about the two teams that we love most. And we'll start off by doing game previews and game reviews. Let's start with the game reviews in Week 14. The San Francisco 49ers, man, defeat the New Orleans Saints 48-46. The 49ers are now 11-2, and they're once again the number one seed in the NFC. That first round bye sounds a lot better than having to travel to Dallas or maybe even Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I was at a car show, so I wasn't able to see most of the game. So I'm going to ask you, how are the 49ers able to put up 48 on that New Orleans defense?
This was Kyle Shanahan's magnum opus. This was his masterpiece. This was Jimmy Garoppolo's double middle fingers to all the critics. You know, you look at what they were able to do to the, and we've talked about how physical the New Orleans Saints defense is, especially at home. I mean, we've talked about it, like, when you guys played them and how physical they are and how hard it is to get. And they threw all over them. 300, I believe, let me get the stats correct for Garoppolo, 349 yards passing. Hell, Emmanuel Sanders had 35 on a touchdown on a double reverse. They threw everything at them. And what you saw early on was that Garoppolo's starting to kind of really feel it now.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of like 2017 where he is, when he's on, he's accurate, short release, he's mobile. He ran for a first down when the game was on the line. And you kind of looked at everything the Niners did, and it was, people compared this to the Rams-Chiefs game of last year.
Was it?
Yeah. You look at the 49ers put up 546 yards to 465. 48-46 is all you need to know. And, the game started off, the Niners had to come out of a hole because they, the Saints, you can tell, and I think we both know this, Sean Payton can be a bit of an asshole.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far.
You mean the guy who did the Minnesota clap?
I would just say that he like you. I think you said it a little earlier. Like, he's got an ego and he needs to fulfill it.
Yeah, when you do the clap against Minnesota in the Minnesota playoff game before the Minnesota Miracle, kind of an a-hole. And I think he truly did look at it like, I want to prove that I'm still, because Shanahan's getting all this love, just like McVay got the love the year before.
Right.
And if you're Sean Payton, he goes, I'm the best when it comes to this stuff. When it comes to building an offense and setting up a game plan, all these other guys are one-year wonders. And he came out like that, and this was the best game. If you ever get a chance to watch it on Game Pass, this was the best game Drew Brees has played all year.
Yeah.
This was it. And, they went down the field, bang. They got stopped on third down, but touchdown. And, you get nervous, like, oh, man, if you're a 49ers fan, you're not used to seeing that. You're not used to seeing somebody go right down the field on your defense like that. And then you look at the Niners are able to answer, and they're throwing. They threw on almost every down. I think their first 4 were throws. I will put it to you like this. At one point, I think there was more touchdowns between the 2-6 than there were incompletions 4.
Wow.
Yes, this was... And, and I'll be honest, the Niners kind of lucked out when Jared Cook got hurt because he was torching them. That was their mismatch. With Jaworski tore it out, the safety out, and you could tell because they did a crossing route on one, and the backup safety, Marcel Harris, just didn't know his assignment. He looked lost, and Brees took advantage of that. And, the Niners could easily win the tank. You're down 20-7 against Drew Brees in the freaking Superdome. You're asking for it.
Yeah, to me, I was just surprised that it was such a high-scoring affair because I have such a high respect for these two defenses. So when I saw it was a high-scoring affair, I was like, wow, that's not the way I saw this game going. But let me ask you this. You talked a little bit about the San Francisco offense, but does New Orleans putting up 46 on your defense concern you going forward?
I'll put it to you like this. This is the analogy I'll give you. You walk in a bar with a prime Mike Tyson next to you. Guy picks a fight with you. Big, giant 6'5" looking motherfucker. And Mike Tyson tells you, oh, don't worry about it, dude. Just go punch him in the face. I do this all the time. He's
right.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't have the tools to get that game to
knock someone out.
Right, yeah.
You know, that's the same thing. Am I worried? I think those are special circumstances for both. I'm not too worried. I just think that, like I said, when you watch the game and you will see everything that the Saints did to win that game. They understood the gravity of that game as well. You win that game, you've locked up the number 1 seed for the most part.
Right.
Because you were already the number 1 seed. You already had beaten Seattle in Seattle. You didn't really have to worry about Green Bay. You know, you had already you beaten the Niners at home. You've locked that up. And now they're the 3 seed.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't. And for as bad as the defense was, they made certain stops. And Nick Bosa's a beast. Nick Bosa, this will be the day that Sherman retires from the Niners. This will be Nick Bosa's defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue.
He's not the most vocal. He and Garoppolo run their respective sides, but they're not vocal. They're just not. They're not vocal leaders.
Right.
You know, that falls on the best player on the San Francisco 49ers, and that's George Kittle. George Kittle is. I'm sorry that you watched that. I don't know if you got to see the play though.
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
I saw the play.
He's the best tight end in football. He's literally got a guy pulling on his face.
I think it's fair to say that now.
Yeah.
Because he's playing in big games.
Yeah. And he's,
you know what I mean? So now, when you're making big plays in big games, your legend grows.
Yeah. And so, he can block too.
That's fair enough.
He's an amazing blocker, despite what Doug Gottlieb says, whatever that idiot says.
Doug Gottlieb.
Yeah.
That guy don't know shit about anything.
No, not a damn thing.
About anybody's team. Though.
Nobody.
He gets it wrong every time.
Like secondhand Jimmy. I just look at him like, yeah, he goes, you know what? That girl, Garoppolo, he can't. He's a runner. He's like when Stephen A. Smith said Haskins was more of a runner.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's up there.
That's Gottlieb.
Yeah. I mean, it's hilarious.
Smith level, man.
Yeah, it is. When you have like NFL players, like long-time NFL players, he's an idiot. You don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
You know, on Twitter, that's kind of, you end that. But, you know, that out route to Kittle, I mean, and for him to drag them, he was literally that image of him with that dude's hands in his face mask, and he's still kind of like, he's not even running. He's kind of like hopping for more yards.
Yeah.
Is amazing. And they went in there, and another thing that's got to be said is that 49er fan base, they're awake. You know, they've been out, they've been asleep, they've been down. They go into New Orleans, and let me tell you.
Yeah, I know. I've been to a couple games up there in the last few years.
And they're up. You know,
49ers fans have every right to be excited about their team. I mean, they're fucking number 1 in the NFC.
And they went into New Orleans. Even when great fan bases, how many fan bases? I showed you the video. Like when I was watching the game.
They took over New Orleans.
Yeah,
it's just.
That's amazing to me. Like, I think one of the commentators
it's amazing what winning can do. And look, I'm gonna bring this back to a point that I made to you last year. And I told you, and look, I still think it fits, just to show I'm consistent here, is that when the 49ers celebrated Kittle's record, I thought that was a bad look because it shows you, look how much you celebrate this.
Yeah.
How sad is that? Do you guys think you would be celebrating George Kittle's record this year? No. It's about you celebrating your team's record. You guys are number 1 in the NFC. Celebrate that. That's something we're celebrating. Celebrate that play that Kittle just made against arguably the team that should have been in the Super Bowl, representing the NFC in the Super Bowl last year if it wasn't for a horrible call.
Yeah.
A perennial powerhouse in the NFC, backed by Drew Brees, Sean Payton, and a badass defense. And Kittle puts the game on his shoulders in that play and gets you guys to win.
This is what I'll say.
That's reason to celebrate.
I get that, but you got to look at it like this too. When you look at Jimmy Garoppolo going down in that game, week 3, and that season's lost. The minute Garoppolo's knee blew out, that season's over. It is. So what do you have to cling to at that point? And you know what? It's the end. It's not like you were competing for.
Still win.
You can't. I mean, that's to me like you lose your starting quarterback. There are very few people. You have 2 instances in history of someone really. And then the other thing you have to remember is when you look at like when Nick Foles stepped in for him, they had a team around him. They had already built their roster out. By the time when Howie Roseman And Doug Peterson built that roster so that they could afford to lose a quarterback and still have enough talent. When you look at New Orleans, Sean Payton's been there forever. He was able to build that roster to the point where if he loses Drew Brees, he can still do it. You remember one thing about when Garoppolo went out? That was year 2 of their complete teardown and rebuild. They didn't have the players. Kittle wasn't what he is now. As great as he was last year, he isn't what he is now. You look at the offense, they're a better team now. They can withstand losses.
They're a better team now.
Yeah.
Right.
But so then when you're not a good team, you're going to celebrate certain things. Like we talked about this offline. The Super Bowls that the Niners and Cowboys have, they're 30 years ago.
Right.
That thought process of where this team, we don't celebrate the no, you're not those teams anymore. You're trying to get back there.
You're far from
exactly.
Yeah,
You're working towards that.
Ago.
And if you win, you get to bring that up. So if you're gonna celebrate that, that's fine. And when you look at it now, flash forward to now, I'll put it like this, and maybe this way. He's the Michael Irvin of our team. He is the voice. We go as he goes.
The energy.
Yeah, he brings the energy. When you need a play, you go to George Kittle.
Yeah.
And why Sean Payton and his ego cost him this game too. I'll be straight up honest. There are 3 or 4 instances where Sean Payton's ego got the best of him, where he said, I want to prove a point that I'm the best at this. And he let that get in his head. You have after their second touchdown, when they get the the personal foul penalty. Okay, you kick a field goal. But no, he got that. He's going to try to go for 2. He tries to sweep to Taysom Hill. Bang, gets freaking. The whole defense read that. You can see there's a breakdown where all the linebackers and the safety start shifting that way. They know what's coming. That's one example. You have the other example of the fake punt where Taysom Hill tries to throw it and he's crying for a holding. You're not going to get a holding or pass interference on that call. You're just not.
Yeah, right.
You're not. When you watch it, it looks like anything else. What does the gunners do? What does the blockers do? They drive the gunners out of bounds. That's how that's going to work. You have them going for little sweet plays and toss plays. Bosa just read everything. And he couldn't get a sack, but he had Brees running. He stopped a sweep. He did a play. There was a play, and I think most of our fans know, where Taysom Hill runs. Bosa reads it, diagnoses it so fast that in the span of a second, he gets behind the tackle. The tackle holds him, doesn't even stop him, and still tackles Taysom Hill for a loss on a 3rd down. I mean, you look at things like that. Like their defense wasn't great, but they made enough plays. They made 1 or 2 more defensive plays than the Saints. And you look at Jimmy Garoppolo kind of just, since week 8, he's starting to round in a form. And to be honest, if he can be 2017 Jimmy, they're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough out.
Especially if they end up with the number 1 seed.
Oh, yeah, and you got to go to Santa Clara. I like their odds a lot better there. Even though, you guys shown you can do that in New Orleans.
You want to be home.
You don't want to be there.
And we talked about kind of like, how do I say it? If you're an up-and-coming NFC team, if you want to prove you're a real NFC team, and Dallas has tried to do this and has done this. They've done both. See, they've done both. You want to be able to beat Aaron Rodgers at home. You want to go to New Orleans and beat New Orleans, and you want to beat Seattle. Those are the 3 for the past 5-6 years. They have been the staples of the NFC. You want to be able to prove, if you want to hang and be a powerhouse in and out, you got to be able to beat Russell Wilson. You got to be able to go beat Aaron Rodgers, and you got to be able to go into the Superdome and beat Drew Brees. And the Niners have done 2 of those, and they get 1 more crack at Russell Wilson. And Garoppolo's, he's outdueled, Drew Brees. And they went pass for pass. And it was a great thing to watch. And you look at this team now, and you're like, wow, they're kind of decimated with some injuries, but, especially on that defensive line. That's how deep that defensive line is. They're going to lose their nose tackle he's the one who caused the fumble. When the game was close at the beginning of the 3rd, Garoppolo threw an interception, because Garoppolo throws interceptions. That's his thing. The Saints kicked a field goal.
Yeah.
They went up 30-28. They stopped the Niners. This is where they have a chance to start to pile up some wins. First play, nose tackle strips or punches out a Kamara fumble. So, you kind of look at things as a whole, and it's like that was a complete team performance. But at the end of the day, you look at the NFC, the Niners are the best team. They hold wins over the two best, and they get one last shot to solidify that Week 17 against Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, I think the now it's a huge game. I think it's fair to say the Niners are the best team in the NFC, but there's no exclamation point on it yet.
No.
The Seattle, they have to beat Seattle.
Yeah.
Especially being at home, that would be a very strong exclamation point where there's nothing left for you guys to prove as far as regular season games go.
They've proven
there's
it.
Nothing. You've proven it. You're the number one seed. You've beat all the top teams in the NFC. I'm with you on that. And I'm just starting to get excited for these playoffs, man.
Yeah,
really,
they're coming close.
And the Niners are ready to clinch a playoff berth with one more win.
Yeah, they hope.
The Cowboys, man, still in first place.
They'll clinch in spite of themselves.
They will clinch in spite of themselves, still in first place, even coming off a 31-24 loss to the Chicago Bears. I talked a little bit about it. I went live right after the game. So I'll just quickly, again, talk a little bit about that game. Trubisky ran for 3 touchdowns and ran for another touchdown on the ground, using his legs, using his arm, just embarrassing the Cowboys defense. That Cowboys defense is undisciplined. It's a bad tackling defense. And in the end, I don't give a shit about your scheme. I don't give a shit about your X's. I don't give a shit about your O's. I don't give a shit about anything. A good defense tackles. Bottom line, a good defense isn't afraid to tackle.
Yeah.
And
that's the foundation of defense.
That's of any kind of defense, no matter what you play. So you know what? You can blame this, you can blame that, but those players on the field need to tackle, and they don't. And so you know what? I don't know who this falls on or what or who's to blame. Is it this guy who's not doing their job? Who said this? Who did that? Who missed this tackle? Who's freelancing out there? I don't know. I just know that in the end, this falls on coaches and players. Yeah. When you have this big of a mess, there's no other way around it. It is coaching and players. And as far as coaching goes, you're going to hear me rant on this one. I don't fucking understand. I don't understand the way these coaches run their rotations. I don't understand how they determine which players get the majority of the snaps and see the playing time that they do. Just for instance, I'll name one. How does Chidobe Awuzie continue to start at corner over Jordan Lewis? Now, I know Jordan Lewis still plays a decent amount of snaps, but Chido Awuzie, all you ever see is number 24 in the play, getting burned, not getting his head turned around, not making plays on the ball, and yet he's starting. Why? Because he's bigger? Because he's stronger? And Richard likes those big, strong corners?
Yeah.
No, bullshit. Jordan Lewis is the better corner. He makes plays on the ball. He gets turnovers. Something that this defense, that this franchise is thirsty for. Nobody gets their hands on the ball, and Jordan Lewis does, and yet he's still not starting. What does that tell you about your coaches when a fan like myself and anybody that sees the game can see this guy, player A, makes plays, player B does not? Why does player B continue to get the snaps? That's coaching.
Yeah.
That's their decision making, and I don't understand it. D-line rotation. I don't get it. I can see entire drives where there's no DeMarcus Lawrence, there's no Antoine Woods, there's no Robert Quinn. No, there's Kerry Hyder. You just see it, like where you're like, I get spelling them for a play here and there and keeping your defensive line fresh so they can continue to stay aggressive. But when your backups, or 3 or 4 of your backups are on the field consistently for an extended period of time, then you know what? Suck it up, starters. How much money is DeMarcus Lawrence getting paid?
He's the war daddy.
He's the war daddy. Get your war daddy ass on the field and stay on there. I'm not saying you don't get to take a breather here and there. I'm not saying you don't deserve a rotation, take some plays off. But there's no way you should see that guy, almost not in the game for a series on defense. You're the war daddy.
Yeah. He's $20 million man, right?
Yes. And so I'm sorry. And then on the other side, the players, man, LVE with his neck injury. I think that's hurting the defense a little more than we thought. LVE played great last year. And Jalen Smith's a player that's just really starting to annoy the fuck out of me.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
I could see.
I'm starting to not like him, even as a Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah, I could see why too. Yeah,
he's dancing and jumping up and swiping.
That blew my
when
mind.
you're down fucking 17 points.
It's like,
what does that tell you about
a tackle?
Yeah, you made a tackle. Celebrate. Yeah. And I get it. He's clear eye view. He went through one of the worst injuries in college football history.
Yeah.
And he got his second contract.
Yeah.
And he's playing for the Dallas Cowboys. And he made the Pro Bowl. And he was playing really well. I get it. I mean, you have a lot to be happy about. You have a lot to celebrate. But time and a place. And guess what? That's the very problem the Cowboys have. They're too full of themselves. They don't see the situation that they're in. They don't see the magnitude of the moment. They have all the talent in the world, just like Jalen Smith, to get it done. But you just can't see what's right in front of you.
Yeah. And I just look at them like there's stigma of the generation I'm a part of, millennials. And I just think that that's what the Dallas Cowboys players are. They're millennials. They are a group of people and a group of players that think that it's supposed to come easy. This is supposed to come easy for me. You know? This is supposed to... What do you mean he wants me to run these? I don't want to. Jerry said I don't have to. Jerry's in charge. You know, you wonder what kind of coach Jason Garrett's going to be when he's not under the thumb of Jerry Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You know, or Cleveland or God knows where. And you start to wonder about that. And this team just always looks for an excuse to not be good. You know, and when you have as much talent as they do, and I do think they have talent. I think some of the talent, like, comes and goes. Like, it's not consistent.
Right.
But it's there. But here's the issue. Maybe this is what I see. They look at their owner. Oh, well, he's talking to the media. Oh, they're talking about my owner on ESPN. They're doing quotes on First Take and all this. What else are they talking about? Oh, it's not our fault. We're talented. It's the coaching. That's why we don't have to listen to them. That's why we don't have to practice. We're already great.
It's not our fault.
It's not our fault.
Right.
It's the coaches.
Right.
It's the coaches. Yeah. That's what Stephen A. Smith says. That's what, you know, even guys that are ex-players. What's his name? He's on there a few times.
I see Marcus Spears.
Marcus Spears is the one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's them. It's like, okay, you tell them that. Guess what? They're not that great. They're not. DeMarcus Lawrence is not
that
Lawrence
great that
Taylor.
They could step on the field and beat anybody.
Yes,
they're not that
They're
great.
not that great. You're not. You're great players, but you're great when you have
your
practice and you're talented and and everything works together. And so long as people tell them, oh, they're great. They're Super Bowl talented team. They're never gonna reach the heights they need to reach until somebody comes along and tells them, I don't give a shit what Jerry Jones says. Jerry Jones isn't the coach of this team. And really, and they respect and fear that.
Right.
You can say that, but for them to respect and fear that and say, no, you guys aren't fucking great. I don't care what Stephen Smith's not here. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. Max Kellerman's not here.
Yeah.
Marcus Spears isn't here.
You know what's not great? 6 and 7 isn't great. It's a fucking whole hell far away from great.
You're worse. And in my opinion, they're worse than the Cleveland Browns
Whoa.
No, I'm even going to say something worse. They're worse than the Cincinnati Bengals. Do you know why they're worse?
Whoa.
You know why they're worse?
Why?
Because their talent should be so much better. The Cincinnati Bengals don't have any talent on their team. There's not a player on the Cincinnati Bengals that would start for them.
No.
Okay?
There wasn't a player on the New England Patriots that start on the Cowboys.
And yet the Patriots come in and they play well. Even when they lose, they're disciplined. They don't get blown out. They don't get embarrassed.
Right.
You look at the Cowboys. Why I say they're worse, it's not because they're a worse team.
They're more underachieving.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But see me, that bugs me. That makes me feel worse. Because guess what? You're wasting years of great talent.
Yeah.
You know, and you're wasting years of great talent because the talent is lazy right now. The talent is full of themselves. Because it's hard to be, like you know, they say, if you're told you're great, why are you going to work?
Right.
You don't have a coach to pull the right strings.
Right.
So that's when I say they're worse. It's not talent or they're worse because there's less of an excuse for them to have the record they have.
No, there's no excuse, man. And I'm not making any excuses for any of them. I mean, Dak gets a lot of props this year for playing well. Dak may complete an 18-yard pass down the field, but you know what I see? I don't see that 18 yards that shows up, that 18-yard completion that shows up on the stat sheet. I see the fact that the ball was thrown 2 feet behind the receiver.
No.
And now that 18-yard pass stays an 18-yard pass and isn't a 30-yard gain.
Yeah.
Run after the catch. That's starting to bother me. And that's on him. After all this MVP talk, like, oh, he's right below, the Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson. And he's played like crap the last 2 weeks.
Huh?
And his stats don't say that.
No.
He's still the number one passer in the league.
Like 1,500 or 3,500 yards passing.
That's great. That's great. That's great. That's a bunch of freaking empty calories, man, because we're losing. You're getting your ass kicked. You're doing it in the fourth quarter when teams are playing prevent defense and playing not to lose.
Yeah. You tell the Bears that up.
When the game is still matters and the game still hangs in the balance, then I'll respect Dak. Right now, Dak, to me, I wouldn't be paying him no $40 million.
No,
not right now.
That's gone.
Not right now.
That's gone.
I just don't see it. I'm not saying that he can't. He was playing well prior, but he's not hitting these wide receivers in stride. He's struggling with his footwork. He's struggling with his accuracy. I can see it in the games, man. The confidence is starting to waver. And the bottom line is, though, the Cowboys' biggest problems are not on offense. The Cowboys won't win another game until they tighten the shit up on defense. Bottom line, the defense needs to hold itself accountable.
I will be honest with you. I watched that game against the Bears, and this is before the Niners reclaimed the number one seed. I watched the game, and I'm going to be honest with you. For a long time, I was like, man, Dallas having to go to Dallas, yeah, they're not great, but, man, I don't think I really want to have to deal with that. And I look at what the Bears did, and I think to myself, no, I'm not afraid. Like, they don't have that mystique. You're not afraid of them, You can't just dust off the schedule and say, oh, well, you know what? Yeah, they have a bad record, but they're still talented. They're just not a good team, and from top to bottom. And I just don't know if they are going to be a good team. Now, they may win by default because the Eagles lose. I mean, that game, like you said, they could lose against the Rams. We both picked the Rams, but, let me ask you a question. This is spur of the moment. Let's say they lose to the Rams. Let's say they lose to the Eagles. Does Jason Garrett get fired after that?
It doesn't matter. He's gone. He's already fired.
But does it?
Just let him coach the last game against Washington, right? I mean, what the hell? What are you going to get out of coaching a game? Let him say goodbye. Then Jerry doesn't have to fire his son. You know what I mean? It's not worth it for one game.
Yeah.
If there was another game or two left in the season. Yeah, I would say your question. But
if it's just one, let's say they were mathematically eliminated with 3 games left.
Then I could see that. Yeah,
okay.
I could see that, but I just don't for one game against the Redskins.
Yeah,
I just don't.
And you just look at they just looked ill prepared. Like they just didn't. They didn't know how to adapt when somebody didn't do what they thought was going to happen.
Yeah, that's the MO
they thought
for the
Trubisky
Cowboys.
was going to do this. Oh, Trubisky's running. We have no answer for that.
Yeah, we don't know what to do now. What do we do? Where's the answer?
Yeah. And then Zeke with that, I guess he called out for the one where they threw that swing pass to the fullback where he was just running like a sprint.
Right.
Did he not know?
And again, why are we throwing to a damn fullback that, I don't know. There's no identity, man. No identity. I'd like to put this game behind me. We'll talk a little bit more about what's ailing the Cowboys in the preview. But let's shift the focus back. Atlanta coming in with the 4-9 record. Traveling up to Santa Clara. The 49ers are favored big time, 11 points, 10.5 points. A win clinches the playoff berth for the 49ers. Yep. I know that's going to keep them motivated. Atlanta has already been eliminated from playoff contention. Dan Quinn is on one of the hottest seats in the NFL.
Yeah.
Would you like to help him become one step closer to being fired?
I would love to help him.
Yeah.
I think I just have a picture of him, being a defensive assistant / coordinator on the Niners next year.
Yeah.
That's where he'll be.
Get him on the staff.
Just get him on the staff. Just like you like it over here. We can help you out here. You can help the defensive backs, or you can send you to do something. This game, it's finally a respite. After the historic gauntlet of death that the Niners were, I always heard this is when your season really begins 8-10 games into it,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, now you really have NFL teams you're worried about. No, none of the ones before? No, okay, well, we went 2-1 during that time. So now you get Atlanta, and it's going to be interesting because it sounds like we lost a lot. Like the Niners are so lucky in a sense that they had the foresight to build that defensive line out, because they have lost, I think, 4 defensive linemen
Yeah.
You lose, Blair, who was actually making plays. He's the one that sacked him, that tore his ACL sacking Russell Wilson. You lose his replacement, who was great in the preseason. They cut him but brought him back. DeAndre Moore, who is a great pass rusher. You lost him with a broken forearm. You lost Julian Taylor. Now you're going to lose DJ Jones, and he was a really big part of their run-stuffing defense. So, I mean, you're dealing with lots of injuries across the defense. That does scare me a little bit, but at the end of the day, and you'll still be without D Ford, which sucks. D Ford's hurt. So you just have to
really get right. I mean, for a playoff run.
Yeah, they said it should take. It's a hamstring, so he may be right for a game and then maybe done. And it's hard.
Give him the rest at this point. Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
So I look at it like, all right, you still have Nick. This defense goes as Nick Bosa goes. He
was the exclamation point on that line.
Yeah. I mean, he just comes with thunder. That's the key. So long as he is healthy, there are 3 players on this roster that they cannot lose, and that is Nick Bosa, George Kittle, Jimmy Garoppolo. So long as those 3 are standing and upright, they will have a shot.
Yeah, right.
Those are the 3 keys. And I just think that they haven't gotten a sack like in 3 games. They're hungry. And I think Nick Bosa is going to eat.
Matt Ryan?
Yes, literally. Well, if anyone's going to eat, it's going to be Eric Armstead.
Yeah.
I think Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, and Nick Bosa are going to eat. You know what? You have rookies contributing like Dre Greenlaw. I think their defense is going to be able to kind of slow them down. No Sherman.
He's going
to be out. But I like our corners. I think their corners, even though they're young, you saw that Emmanuel Mosley stepped in and made plays. You see that Chidobe Awuzie's, his running mate in Colorado was Akella Witherspoon, who had the same things you're talking about him we had with Witherspoon a year before. Never turned around. Always looked lost. Always looked like he's running, trying to catch up.
But it's like he's always in position, though. But it's he never gets burned. It's just he doesn't make the play on the ball for
last year. No, he was like, oh, there he goes, trying to hold him because he's out of position. And I'm not saying that they're both, but sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it's coaching. Sometimes you see him now, and he was benched last year multiple times. They gave him his job, benched him. Gave him his job, benched him. Anytime a Niners fan know last year, anytime we give up a big play, the first thing you would see is him pointing at the safety, all frustrated, and Shanahan hated that, and he turned it around. And I think we talk about corners like that. Sometimes it takes ebbs and flows. Not everyone's Revis,
right? No,
so
even they don't last that long.
Yeah,
even the greats. I'm with you. What about the Atlanta D? I mean, there's no reason to fear them. I think they're ranked like 26th in the league.
I think this game is going to be something similar to the Carolina one. I don't think Jimmy's going to have this great, because I think they're going to run the ball. I think they're going to get back to their running ways.
Yeah.
I think the Saints game was to show you he can do it too. They said, oh, well, can the Niners win if the defense doesn't work in the running game? Yeah, I can. Jimmy Garoppolo can do it. He can go toe-to-toe with Drew Brees and win. So I think that was your statement. You wanted to prove that. Now you have the ability to go back and run the ball. I expect Mostert and Breida just to freaking
And Calvin
eat.
Ridley's out for Atlanta.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
there's another weapon down the tube for them.
I really do think the Niners, do they cover? Yeah, I think they cover. I think they win by 2 touchdowns.
Really?
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be like the Carolina game, where
I think Atlanta may put up a little bit of points during this game, though.
I think so. I could see them putting up 17. I think that when they get to the red zone, I just don't see it. Their offensive line, I mean, Drew Brees got that ball out lightning quick. Drew Brees' talent was better than what Atlanta has at this point. And when I look at it, like, we're just not going to let them have that ball.
Right.
We ran the ball good, decent, 161 yards last week against the Saints. I just think you're looking at like a 200 and something yard game against them, against Atlanta. I think Garoppolo walks away with about 200 some yards. I think
so
Kittle
a heavy dose of the run is what you're
heavy
calling
dose
for?
of the run. Kittle blocking. I think they want to just kind of like, you just want to play keep away at this point.
Yeah.
Get your win, get your playoff berth, and get ready for the Rams next week.
Rest D Ford.
Yeah, rest. D Ford's not playing the rest of the regular season.
You don't think so?
No, I think he's not playing the rest of the regular season, and it would be something for Sherman. I think Sherman wants to play that Seattle game. Sherman is dying to get that Seattle game, that taste out of his mouth.
Yeah, maybe you got to let the guy try to go.
I think you want to see what he has, because that's what has happened last week. Like, he was hurt in the game against the Ravens, and he tried to give it a go. And you could tell right off the bat, not so much his play, but every time like there was a play, you could tell he's hurt anytime he had to make a tackle, that he's injured. So if you give him 2 weeks, this week and next week, and if he says he's ready, you got to let him go out there as long as he doesn't get hurt more. And if it's not a good go and no, it's not working, then you pull him quickly, short leash.
Yeah, you got to pull him.
But, I mean, this game against Atlanta, this is part of the Kyle Shanahan revenge tour. I mean, he got...
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know...
He got the Redskins.
Yeah.
He wanted them.
Got Atlanta.
He's got Atlanta. So I think that he got Cleveland when he was the OC for Cleveland. Mike Pettin was his head coach. He got Green Bay. So I think he continues his winning ways with that. I think they clinch a playoff spot. They go to 12-2, and we get ready for some celebrations.
Yeah, clinching a playoff spot, that's going to be cool. You know, we really can't clinch anything, the Cowboys. Let's preview that game. So the LA Rams, the team in our backyard, the Rams come in at 8-5, going down to AT&T Stadium. The Cowboys, man, 6-7. Now the Rams are favored by a point, man. The Rams are favored by a point. The Cowboys started off being favored by 4 points, so that's just showing you just how this is shifting. People are starting to shit on the Cowboys. People are starting to doubt the Cowboys. And me being a long-time Cowboys follower, man, when the Cowboys are up, they're just not good front runners, man. They start to believe their own press and think they're great, and then they underperform, just like this season. You know, this season really, really mirrors that 2008 season. No. That season that we thought we were the shit. We were the most talented team with Tank Johnson, Pac-Man Jones. We added them on top of T.O., Witten, Romo. I mean, Terry Glenn.
Murray, right?
Yeah. It was just nonstop talent through the roof. The offensive line was still there, getting a little older, but still good.
Yeah.
The defense with Ware and Spencer and Ellis and I mean all those guys, you know, and Roy Williams, you know, whatever, but Newman, you know, was still a lockdown corner at that time. I mean, the talent was there, and they underachieved because they believed their own press clippings, and they started off the season at 3-0, just like the team started off 3-0 this year, and then you really believe it, and then you really get full of themselves, and then it just unravels. It's the same thing that's happening this season. The Cowboys just have underperformed. It's on the coaching, it's on the players, it's on the organization. Just disappointing all the way around. I'll tell you what, getting into the game, let me tell you what the LA, and this goes to what my big line was this week. I said, what does a 49er fan that a Cowboy have that a Cowboys fan doesn't? And it's just confidence in their team. That's the only difference. You guys can look forward to like, hey, my team's going to show up.
Yeah.
Win, lose, or draw. My team's going to show up. Cowboys fans wait like, I hope my team shows up. I hope Zeke runs like how I know he can. Yeah. I hope Dak plays like I know he can. Yeah. I hope that defensive line plays like I've seen them in the past. Yeah. But we just hope and dream. Yeah. We just hope. And that's the difference between Niners and Cowboys fans. But what's the difference between Rams, the team, and this Cowboys team? The Rams have confidence. Winning two straight blowouts.
Beating Seattle.
Yeah, beating Seattle is big for them. The Cowboys are coming off 3 straight losses, man.
Yeah. And
it's confidence.
It is. It's like I told you, Dallas will never get right until they find somebody that can motivate those players. And that's the truth about it. When you look at Dallas's talent, and the thing is, one of these days, you know, Tyron Smith's not going to be as good as he was the year before.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just don't want to. That's the frustrating part, is when you see talent and you see it not being used to its maximum potential, and you feel like you're wasting great players, you know, and it's on them too. You know, they got to get their act together. But when you look at the game against the Rams, I mean, they're the ones that kind of just took it to you in the playoffs. They just ran the ball and ran the ball, and I doubt they're going to do much different this time around. You know,
the Cowboys haven't learned.
No, and I just don't think they. I just don't. And then one thing with Dallas is like, Dallas even loses like confidence with leads. Like, and it's not the confidence that they can't win. It's the confidence in what they're doing.
Right.
It's like, okay, we're gonna run Zeke 8 times. He got 70 yards. Went down the field. Dak made a couple third down completions. Bang, touchdown. Great. oh, damn, they scored 2. Now, you know what, Dak, you're going to just have to throw it. Just throw it. Just throw it. Zeke, he ran it. Oh, he's tired? Okay, go sit down, Zeke.
Right.
There's nobody to get. To me, the way this team should play is the way the old Niners teams of Jim Harbaugh played, which was we're going to play power football and West Coast offense. We're going to put 2 tight ends. We're going to go get us a good fullback. We're going to, Zeke, get your ass in shape. Okay? Get your fat ass in shape. He's not fat, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're going to run. We're going to give you the ball we did. Go watch tape of Frank Gore in those years. We're going to run you the way we ran, Frank Gore ran. We're going to run it. Dak, we're going to need you in the 4th quarter and when it's 3rd and 8. And we're going to need, you know what? When we get down to the freaking 20-yard line, 10-yard line, get your legs ready because you're going to run. And if you did that behind that offensive line, because I think what happened was that the defense, do you remember when this defense, people didn't believe in this defense, and it was the reason people thought they were good is because I think this was Dak and Zeke's first year where they just had the ball so much that the defense never. I think they have to get back to that.
Yes, they do. You're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. They have to get back to controlling the clock, winning time of possession, not having Dak throw 40-plus times a game. It's just not the recipe for success, and we've fallen into that trap, sadly. With the Rams, though, man, I mean, McVay still there. Gurley's starting to look like he's picking it up late in the season. Goff is still not impressive to me. I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of the analysts saying, oh, Goff's picked it up the last couple of weeks. I didn't see that. I think Goff made a couple of big plays, a couple of good plays, but he still had an interception. He still had a couple interceptions in that game. I mean, he's still turning the ball over. I
think what they were comparing to is how bad he was before.
Right.
Yeah,
true enough.
Grading on a scale, he was not. I think that when you look at this game in and of itself, it's going to be interesting because I still, like you said, I still don't know if I truly believe. Like, if the Cowboys won this game, I wouldn't be shocked because I don't truly believe in the Rams. Like, I don't. I really don't. I think that they kind of, like that division, even when they had Jeff Fisher, Jeff Fisher got there and beat Pete Carroll. You know?
Yeah.
The freaking Seahawks would be like 12-4, and one of those losses would be to Jeff Fisher's 8-8 Rams. So, they did good. They have to. They're playing for their playoff lives. They can't afford a loss. Beating Dallas would be big. They have to go into Dallas, and though I picked the Rams, I sometimes I wonder if, like, because there's no pressure in this game, like, they can play loose Dallas. You know? But, it's just, for me, it's just like, do the players listen? Do they understand? Because in my mind, they've tuned Jason Garrett out.
I think his message just got old.
Yeah, I think that's
it. His message is old.
And it's hard because there's nobody there that you believe is going to take that team.
I wouldn't trust anybody on that defense. Anybody associated with that whole defense, from the coaching staff down to the last player on the team, the third string defensive lineman, has been an embarrassment.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the way I see it. The Rams. Getting back to the Rams with them. The Gurley, I think, is looking better. Goff, I guess you can say he's looking better. I don't know how much that's saying.
You go from 0 to 2. I know it's only 2, but it's still
an improvement. I'll give him that. On the offensive line, there's only one player currently starting in week 5 that will be starting in week 15 that started in week 1. That's Whitworth.
Yeah, so I say the tackle, no?
That's it. That's it. Everybody else, it's been a makeshift offensive line. And here's what I've noticed about the Rams, because I was going through their schedule earlier today, and I was thinking, like, okay, when have the Rams been completely had? And it's when you exploit that offensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when the Niners did it, blew them out.
Yep.
When the Ravens did it, blew them out. Those were their worst losses of the season.
Yep.
And they exploited that offensive line.
You're able to get to Goff.
Yeah.
You didn't care about play action.
All over after that.
Yeah.
So hopefully this defensive line can pull its head out of its ass, play some disciplined defense, and rush that passer.
Now, I'm going to ask you, what about, because of their faults last year, what about the linebackers? Because that was the issue last year in the playoffs, was they got past the defensive line, and the linebackers, Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith just couldn't handle the run game of the Rams. What do you expect? Do you expect anything different? Does Sean Lee
isn't playing? Sean Lee,
Sean Lee's smart. I'll give him that. Every time there's a screen gets busted, it's because of him.
Sean Lee, he can diagnose a play quicker than the damn play caller sometimes. But he's getting up there. He just isn't able to do it at such a consistent level that he used to maybe 2-3 years ago. But, I mean, you still see him make some awesome reads and some awesome plays. He's definitely more than capable. Jalen Smith worries me, man. He overruns a lot of plays. He's very undisciplined. He's a great talent, hard hitter. I mean, he can rush the passer. I mean, he's a very good player, but it just worries me that he doesn't play with that discipline that you need. That
And
you're
that's
gonna need
coaching.
in a game like
That's
this.
coaching.
Yeah, because they need to pull his ass out of the. I'll put Joe Thomas in there or whoever.
Yeah. So you're gonna sit down.
Right. Bill Belichick would do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Bill Belichick say, no, you're not playing well.
Yeah.
You go sit down.
You're not playing well. Then sit and think about it.
Yeah, because that's all. To me, when we talk about them having big heads or them they have egos, is because it just feels like they don't take to coaching. Part of it is the coach that's delivering the message, but like defense especially, because defense is so hard that if you're not on point, you can be demoralized pretty easily, Right. And when you're just not, and then it takes 11,
Yeah.
Especially when you're playing that passing game and you got that secondary, and if you're not on point, man, they get a couple plays on you, it becomes disheartening. Then it's like, this coaching's not putting us in the right position. We're not right. And I think that's the issue with Dallas. For Dallas to truly compete, I think we'll obviously need a coaching change, but maybe even an organizational change. I mean,
Troy Aikman.
Yeah, we hear about Troy Aikman. A little off topic, but you're Troy Aikman throwing his name in there. He wants to follow the footsteps of Elway.
I am 110% in agreement with Troy Aikman, man. Yeah. I mean, Troy Aikman's a winner. He knows how to win. You know what? He wasn't afraid to take shots at Barry Switzer when he knew Barry Switzer was letting the team slack off and we were on our way down from those Super Bowl runs. I mean, late in the 90s, the Cowboys were still competitive, still double-digit win teams, but just weren't that same, like, wow, we got to play the Cowboys. Yeah. I mean, they were just another playoff contender at the end. And it was because of Switzer let it go. Yeah. They didn't have the discipline. They still had the talent, just didn't have the discipline. And you know what? Here's something funny, kind of, fits in this same narrative. But I would venture to say, here's a true or false for you, man. Check the true or false. And anybody in the chat, true or false on this one. What do you guys think? True or false statement. Jason Garrett is the biggest lame duck coach since Barry Switzer. Right now. What would you say? True or false?
Yeah, that's a true.
Yeah, right? I mean, you can't even think of a coach like, what's he still here for? I mean, you hear about Jerry Jones flirting with Urban Meyer. You hear the rumors of, how happy is Bill Belichick in New England.
Yeah, that's true. That is
Jerry
true.
Jones says on his radio show in the interview, Jason Garrett will be coaching somewhere in the NFL next year.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Literally telling them no.
He's the biggest lame duck coach since Barry Switzer. And what does that say about Jerry Jones? That he's willing to do this whole sideshow with his head coach a second time under his watch.
Yeah. See, I think what you need, and I don't think it'll happen, but you need a guy you need a culture changer. And to go back to the Niners, off the end of Harbaugh, when Jed York decided to side with Balky over Harbaugh and send him away, and the culture just was rotten. There were leaks to the media. Like, it was a bad culture. No, you guys don't have that type of bad culture. You have a different type of culture I'll get to. But you bring in a guy like John Lynch, and the first thing he does is fix the culture. And to me, that is vital. You can hire guys to run your draft. You can hire guys to help a free agency. There are scouts that do that. Does John Lynch have scouting experience? No, he didn't. But he knew how to reset the Niners culture. The culture is family. You don't hear about the Yorks anymore. You go on Twitter, you don't see people talking shit about Jed York anymore. And it's not just that they won, it's that they rebuilt the culture. They brought back the past. And I think that what Troy Aikman would do, because Jerry's biggest problem that I see more than anything is he wants to be friends with players. And that is killer. Troy Aikman doesn't give a fuck about being friends with these guys at all. You know what? You suck. Or you know what? You're underperforming. And he'll tell that to a player. Just the way I see Troy Aikman is that's how I view him. He's going to tell them how it is. If he was willing to tell a coach he liked in Barry Switzer as opposed to like someone he worked with, and he's calling out Jerry left and right now, he's saying, I will tell them to their face. Nobody tells them that. And that's the thing is you need someone in there to change the culture, to kind of sit there and say, you know what, hey, No, that's not cool. Oh, you're going to be lazy? Oh, you're not. No, that's not how it's going to go. You know? And maybe it's in it. I mean, you don't maybe have to make him the GM, but maybe help in personnel. Maybe groom him.
Right. Know? Give him something.
You want to be team president, team vice president, president, co-president of player personnel, and get him in there to change the culture. Because when I hear him talk, he's the complete opposite of what Jerry Jones is. And
he's a winner, man. Yeah. He's a winner, dude. I mean, Troy Aikman holds people accountable. He was the leader of that 90s team, and say what you will about the dude. He never threw for 30 touchdowns in a season, never had a 4,000-yard season. But like I put in one of my tweets, you know what? But I can name you a guy that won 3 Super Bowls, led the team to 3 Super Bowls, has the most wins in the decade of the 90s. I mean, and just was the driving force for a dynasty in the 90s. And so you can shove those stats up your ass. He knows how to win.
Yeah.
And nothing's changed, man. He still knows what it takes.
Yeah.
And Jerry is blurring those lines. Jerry does.
Yeah. He's like, oh, no, they're cool. He wants to be their friends. And that's the problem. And an owner shouldn't, like, there's a difference between caring about a player and letting that let that kind of become a crutch and take advantage of you. And I say the players are taking advantage of him, but like, oh, Jerry's cool. Jerry's like that boss you don't take serious because he wants to be cool with you. You know, you need that hard ass. You need that. And I think that, like I said, Troy Aikman, he's talking about it now. This isn't just, he's doing this for a reason.
Troy Aikman for GM, Romo for coach.
That's what you want. That's that 2020.
Oh, if they won the Super Bowl with that roster, man, I'd be so happy for the Cowboys in general.
Everybody would have got there.
Oh, yeah, everybody gets there. Even Romo gets a ring.
Finally gets a ring?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But
man,
I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
I'm dreaming. Just to end with this team, man, Dak Prescott's big numbers I think are just starting to become detrimental to this offense because it looks like on paper it's working.
Yeah.
And it's not.
No.
It's not working on the field.
No.
And shove the stat sheet up your ass. Throw it away. It's not working. You're not in these games. You are not competitive. Run the ball. Zeke needs 20-plus touches, not even carries, just touches. Get him involved in your game plan early and often. Their inability to run efficiently for whatever the reason is. Mm-hmm. You can blame it on coaches not calling his number, the play calling being unimaginative. You can say he's fat or he's lazy or whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
Efficiently run. That's the key.
Here's the thing.
And that's it, I mean, and again, I just think that contributes to bigger things like the red zone woes.
Yeah.
We have no problem marching that ball up and down the field.
Yeah.
Just have a problem punching it in.
Yeah, once you get to it.
Yeah, and just here's the biggest thing that the key that the Cowboys had, say, in 2016 and 2014 when they had major success, they controlled the tempo of the games they played. The Cowboys no longer have a tempo.
No, and I think the issue is, this is where I'll disagree with you a little bit. It's not get Zeke in the game plan. It's keep Zeke in the game plan. Because Zeke's starting the game. The game starts with Zeke. You got to keep it there. It has to be something where every time he's run him into the ground. You paid him. You might as well run him. You have him now for
get your money's worth.
Exactly.
Man.
You paid him. And don't worry about this. That's the difference that I love Kyle Shanahan. People want to talk about, is Jimmy Garoppolo worth this? He doesn't give a fuck what you think. I'm gonna run the ball. I have a running thing. I don't care if Jimmy only throws for 180 yards. Oh wow, you don't think he's good? You don't think he's good? I don't give a shit. Because guess what? I still walked away with the W. He still walked away with the W.
And I'll say this too. What's the dude that's with Marcellus Wiley on TV? The big dude.
Oh, Jason Whitlock.
Oh, you know how he's kind of like down on Garoppolo?
Yeah, that guy's crazy.
Look. I see flaws in Garoppolo's game at times, so I understand where some of this narrative comes in, but he goes way, way too far. Oversteps those boundaries, and it's all for show. Because here's the thing. Because they'll say things like, well, until Jimmy Garoppolo, basically, until all 11 players die on defense and his wide receiver passes out on the field and then he wins the game, then he proves it to me.
I mean,
here's the thing, dude. That's not the case.
No.
He's playing with a badass defense. He's got a capable coach and play caller. And guess what? Those guys aren't going away. No. So you don't get to take that away from him. You don't get to take his weapons away from him. It's can Jimmy Garoppolo maximize and optimize and lead that team where it needs to go. And if he can, that's all that matters.
Yeah, he did it against the Saints. That's what's killer, because it's when now you see what Sherman says when he says moving the goalpost. This is moving the goalpost. When I listen to guys like Bomani Jones,
called winning, man.
Yeah, when I listen to Bomani Jones saying, "Well, anybody could have made that." No, I've never seen that guy ever take that position. And what's killer, what really frustrates me about the Garoppolo hate is this. Who was a quarterback considered the greatest before Tom Brady?
I don't know.
It was Joe Montana.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
4 Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, considered the best.
He couldn't throw past, 12 yards.
Yeah.
But
guess what? We talked about wins. Wins equal rings. He has 4.
There's a guy sitting on my shelf, Troy Aikman. He has a few of those.
He has 3.
Yeah.
I'm
got
not. I didn't graduate algebra 2. I'm not the greatest math, but 4 is greater than 3. Just saying. Anyways, he's considered the greatest before that. Joe Montana. You say, who was the best quarterback before him? It was Joe Montana. Joe Montana
was the most clutch quarterback.
Guess what? He also had Bill Walsh.
Yeah, right. But that's
he had Jerry Rice. But nobody took that away from him. When you talk about who was the best quarterback, nobody sat there and said, "Well, They just said, "Okay, he had the most Super Bowls. He was tied with Bradshaw. Did more than Bradshaw. Had more statistical and just winning success. He didn't have a defense like Bradshaw did. So they gave the nod to the guy with the most rings, who did the most and had the most. He had all those records, the Super Bowl records that Brady owns. He took them from Montana. Montana owned all of those before him.
Right.
Okay. So when you look at it,
all
like
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with Garoppolo, we're like, oh no, but he has to do this. He has to do this. Yes, George Kittle. Well, guess what? Great quarterbacks. Guess what? Drew Brees has great quarterbacks. Brady had Gronk.
Troy Aikman had Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith and the Great Wall.
Yeah.
But it's like, but here's the thing. What did they do with them?
Exactly.
They won fucking rings.
Yes.
Yeah. So where do they get knocked? I don't get it.
Like we look at Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has a talent. Let's see what he does.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. We do, I think, knock some of these players for the talent they have around them, but they shouldn't be knocked for that. It's what do you do with that talent?
Yeah.
When you have talent, make a difference with that talent.
Yeah. You have the ball in your hand. Can you make the play?
Right.
Because I don't care who you have. If you're a below average quarterback, you'd have Jerry Rice. Doesn't mean you're going to get to him. You could have Randy Moss. You could throw it up. Doesn't mean you're going to get it to them.
Right. I mean, did those late 90s Minnesota Vikings win the chip? No, but they had the talent to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, but they didn't do it. You could say, oh, well, Dante Culpepper had Chris Carter and he had Randy Moss, And he did. And what did he do with it? He didn't get the team over the hump.
Yeah.
That's how you should judge a player.
Exactly.
In the long
Especially
game.
A quarterback.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with it there. Let's see. We got a couple people in the chat talking about the Montana thing. Montana got his ass beat and still went undefeated in Super Bowls. I mean, yeah, he's undefeated in Super Bowls. I mean, much like Jordan is undefeated in finals. I'm not taking anything away from Montana.
Not only that, no picks in the Super Bowl. In all 4 of those, he never threw a pick.
Yeah, because and I'm one of the people that always says it's not about what you did do. Like when people tell me LeBron is better than Jordan, it's like it's not about well LeBron did everything Jordan did. Well, it's not even about that. It's what he didn't do. You know what I mean? And so that's definitely a claim to fame that Joe Montana didn't throw a pick in a Super Bowl. I mean it's because that's what he didn't do.
Yeah,
it's more important than even what he did do.
No, he didn't make mistakes. And when he went down the field, he went down the field to beat. I mean, they were loaded teams. He wasn't dragging. But, I could see why they talked about Elway. Elway drug horrible teams to Super Bowls.
He didn't win.
No, and Montana had. I mean, you look at Ronnie Lott and that last one they won with.
I mean, if you say that John Elway. Maybe he's a more talented quarterback. Yeah, he's a more talented quarterback. I think he had more tools than Montana. Exactly. But I mean, if you're asking me in the Super Bowl with the game on the line, I know what I'm going to get from Montana.
Exactly.
I'm with you on that wholeheartedly. Dude, I think one of the most underrated quarterbacks is Roger Staubach from the 70s, man. I mean, anybody that I hear, older heads even tell me that he was better than Montana. That they believed in him more than Montana. These are people that watch both.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying I did. I've seen their highlights. I've seen the replays. But, I mean, sometimes I really do want to watch more and more of these guys. And really, honestly, I'd love for us to, like, watch some tape. Like, maybe a big sample size, like 10 games, 15 games. And, like, just really see the strengths of these guys and really compare that.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, we did Aikman versus Young.
Yeah.
A Staubach... Montana wouldn't be bad.
I think we put that on the off-season to-do list.
Pretty good thing. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure, man.
But that has to come second to our ultimate gridiron fight, Legends fight.
Oh, which one are we doing?
That would be Cutler versus Jeff
George. We got to do Jay Cutler versus Jeff George.
I don't know what we're grading them on.
I don't know what we're grading them on, just like who was able to be outlandish and last long in the league. But we had some good... Hey, man, speaking of it, we had a gridiron fights for... Polamalu and Ed Reed on the channel too, and Polamalu, he didn't make the top 100.
He didn't make the top safeties. Yeah, I think it's like 7 or 8 safeties.
Wow.
They didn't put him in.
I mean, who do you have in front of him?
I know they had Reed, they had Ronnie Lott, they had older guys. I'll be honest, old heads that I don't know about, but. I know of that era, this era, those are the two that I know for sure that I saw ahead of him.
I'm just so surprised because Polamalu could do everything. And, like, I took Ed Reed in gridiron fights, but I don't see how you leave Troy Polamalu off that list, man.
I mean, he's got to be one of the best safeties to ever play the game. But that one hurt me a little bit because as an SC fan, I was like, damn, I loved him.
Well, I mean, he did everything.
Yeah,
that's the thing. There wasn't a position on the field that he couldn't handle.
He wasn't flashy.
No, he was.
Well, now I guess where it counts.
Not the big play like Ed Reed maybe, but I get it. And I just think again, and that was one of the points I made is that Ed Reed did some of the things that is more rare for a player to pull off. In those big plays, those scoring plays. It looks like we're ranking quarterbacks, man. How would you rank your top 5
all time?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard not to go Brady. It really, because you know what? It's I want to say Montana, and we talked about the cheating thing in the last one, but in my lifetime, he's just done it over and over and. I was in high school. He's done this for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's
right.
Insane.
The fact that he's done it for so long, to me, gives him the nod.
Yeah. So it goes, I have him. I would probably go Montana. I'd go Alway. I'd go Staubach, Marino.
Yeah, I think Dan Marino is far and away.
Dan Marino has 1 or 2 rings.
The most talented quarterback I've ever seen play. Far and away.
He has a ring. He's probably
if he has 1 ring, he's the undisputed champ to me because he was that great. I mean, he was putting up numbers that they put up today in the 80s.
It almost scares you to see what he would have done.
He would have thrown for like 8,000 yards. Honestly, he really would have.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
He couldn't touch receivers. Yeah. He had a cannon and get it out quick.
Right. I mean, the release, the quick release, the arm strength, just the ability to break down defenses made him great. But I can't say he's the best if you don't win the big game. Montana to me is the most clutch quarterback. I think John Elway is the quarterback that was able to make $1 out of 15 cents.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the quarterback that was able to drag his team, put him on his back, and just get him as far just where they didn't belong.
I think that's why I give the nod to Elway over Marino, because he was able to take teams that were. I mean, Marino didn't have the greatest teams. Marino still had some talent on his team.
On offense, especially. Yeah,
Clay in
defense. He had never had talent on defense.
And you look at they were able to and it was always he got them to Super Bowls, even if Marino got to multiple Super Bowls like Elway did.
Yeah.
But they never did. And I don't even know how many AFC championships they even got to. I think that when you look at abilities and what made, Montana great was the footwork. The footwork.
Yeah.
The footwork. Bill Walsh talks about it. You watch the Football Life on Bill Walsh's footwork, and his footwork and his toughness. Because he took one game, I think, at the end of his career with the Niners against the Buddy Ryan's Philly Eagles. They blitzed the living shit out of him. And you watch those hits, and you can't even touch the quarterbacks like that now. And he still answered the bell. him being not the biggest guy, because I think he was, like, if you look at all these quarterbacks, he was not that big compared to Elway and Marino.
No.
But, man, when he needed to, he did it, and you just give credit, because he won Super Bowls with guys that weren't Jerry Rice. He won 2 Super Bowls without Jerry Rice. They were, and he beat Marino without Jerry Rice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah.
And then once he got Jerry Rice, and that's when his numbers exploded. He was clutch, but he never had the numbers. But when Jerry Rice comes along, your numbers go.
It's a whole another ball game, man. Yeah. Jerry Rice is the GOAT. Yeah. If we're ranking wide receivers, Jerry Rice goes 1 for me. And it's coming from a Cowboys fan. And I always say my favorite player is Michael Irvin, but I just can't pull the trigger. Because if you told me, hey, would you switch them? Fuck yeah, I would. It's like, of course I would.
Yeah.
But I'm being honest, man. And I call me a homer, call me just, hey, well, he's your favorite player. But I don't think I would take anybody else over Michael Irvin other than Jerry Rice. And I know that there's the Randy Mosses out there. I know there's the Megatrons. But, man, what I seen Michael Irvin do play in, play out, motivate his team, I wouldn't take him off a squad for anybody, man. So we got a lot to talk about, man. We'll talk more about some of the histories of these teams, I'm sure, man. But anything that you're looking out for Week 15 before we get on out of here?
Oh, I just want to see. I want to see how the Niners respond to the fact they have a chance to clinch something. Like, do they get uptight? Do they get nervous? This is a game. They haven't had a game they should win in a very long time. Yeah. They haven't had a game they should win in about a month.
Right. It was the gauntlet.
Yeah. And so, now you have a chance
to see a letdown.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thing, that you just kind of want to see them run the ball. If you want to take the heart of the Atlanta Falcons as quickly as possible.
Right. Don't let them linger.
You want to put
them any confidence.
Nothing. Yeah. I want this game to be over at the first quarter. And I want it to be by 2 touchdowns.
Maybe first half.
I feel better with that. I know, but I just wanted to. Right. I have the Homer Simpson, Drederick Tatum, where he won before he got in the ring. That's how you visualized it.
Yeah. Chris Jensen in the chat says, I just want to see the Cowboys get a damn win. I agree 110%. It'd be nice to just see them win.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I don't care if it's by 1 point or 100 points. It would really make no difference to me. I just want to see a dub, man.
Yeah, you're going 6-8. That's pretty
crazy. I don't want to. You lose 4 straight. That's a quarter season.
Yeah,
that's bad.
That is.
That's bad. So I don't want to see that. And again, I don't want to see another 8-8 season. But it looks like that's where the Cowboys are headed. But we'll see. I don't have a lot of confidence in my team. You should have all the confidence in the world in yours. And like I said, that's the big difference between these two teams. But yeah, that's all I got for you here for Week 15. We will catch you all back here on the live stream for Week 16. Thanks for chilling with us. Thanks for talking Cowboys. Thanks for talking Niners.
Yep.
Peace out, everybody.